Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to do our review for The Walking Dead, Episode 2, JSS. I know, I'm like 3 or 4 days late, but my Mets have been in the playoffs. They have a great chance of going to the World Series tonight if they win Game 4 in Chicago. So I've been really sucked in to the playoffs because my team, who haven't been to the playoffs since 2006. They haven't been to a World Series since 2000, and they haven't won one since 1986. So that's been keeping my attention. But I did watch this episode, a very good episode. Ninja Carol, what? You know, there's not too much to dissect in this episode. It was a straight up action-packed episode. The wolves finally make their presence known, attacking Alexandria by surprise. Who else jumped out of their seat when Carol was looking out the window and looking at Mrs. Niedermeyer, and boom, out of nowhere, machete to the waistline, and then a hack to the head, and she is gone. No pasta maker for you, my lady. No pasta maker for you. A very action-packed episode. One of the things interesting about this episode was the approach between Carol and Morgan in terms of dealing with the wolves. Morgan trying to be more diplomatic, in an aggressive way, of course, but not trying to kill people, trying to just send them off and have them not come back again, which we know that doesn't work. And Carol obviously taking the no chances, you know, the more the approach, the more aggressive approach, just killing these guys and getting rid of them, which for us as the viewers, seeing what Rick and his group have been through, that is the right approach. See, we have to remember Morgan, as wise as Morgan is and as talented as he is now with weapons and as much as he can survive, and he can, Morgan's never really dealt, as far as we know, Morgan has never really dealt with people like the governor, you know what I mean? He's never really dealt with people like that. You know, last we saw him on Clear, he was dealing with zombies. You know, he obviously ran into a couple of the wolves late last season, and he dealt with them in his more diplomatic way now. So it kind of makes you wonder if Morgan's going to have to get to a point where he's going to have to learn the hard way. You know, he's going to have to deal with somebody that he may not be willing to kill, but might do something to him, that being Morgan, or someone Morgan's close to, maybe someone he gets close to in Alexandria, that forces Morgan's hand. Or maybe Morgan's hand was forced already. We saw at the end of the episode, he hacked down his stick on what seems to be that wolf's head. We don't know if he killed him, he could have knocked him out. We won't find out, hopefully, until this Sunday's episode. But very interesting development in that regard between Carol and Morgan, seeing their different approach to dealing with the wolves. Carol's just, I mean, my God. Talk about clever. She puts on their clothes, puts a W on her head, runs around the skies, picking them off one by one. I mean, wow. I mean, this woman has come so far from season 1, and to see her continue to step up during moments like this, where Alexandria was being sieged, or when she was trying to break the group out of Terminus, and she becomes a one-man wrecking crew. And and not like she's running up in there with a machine gun that's plowing people. She's very cerebral about how she does things. She thinks it through, she thinks on the run, and she makes smart decisions that not only don't put herself in jeopardy, but take out numerous targets. Very interesting to watch, considering where this woman was in season 1 and where she is now in season 6. So, but now we see Alexandria had to learn the hard way. Deanna has to learn the hard way that they cannot be complacent. They cannot just sit back and just live. It's not going to work that way. People out there will want what you have or want to destroy what you have in the case of the wolves. And now maybe we'll see some sort of evolution from the remaining Alexandrians to really step up and say, hey, Rick was right. He was right. So I think it's a hard lesson learned. And the wolves are not done. We saw a number of them escape. Morgan let a couple of them go. That might be the opening that I was talking about earlier in terms of Morgan learning the hard way, that you cannot let people like this live. So that'll be interesting down the road, whether that's going to come back to bite Morgan in the ass. I'm more than willing to bet it is. Very good first 2 episodes. Very good episode, in particular this one. Carol just stole the show. And, you know, we didn't see any Rick, which is very interesting. Some episodes where we don't see Rick or we see very little of him, sometimes they're okay. You know, so not a lot of them have, most of them have been good. You know, you think about The Grove has been very good. The episode where Carl was by himself while Rick was knocked out on the couch, that one was okay. But for the most part, this is probably one of the better episodes that carried on without Rick. Now, next week, we get to see Rick and the crew continuing to try and herd those walkers. It's going to be a bit of work. I mean, there's tons of walkers. There's some that straggled off. Whether or not some of them get to Alexandria, maybe we'll find out next week. That was something I was kind of expecting to see today. Sunday. And, you know, I know that there's a time difference. We saw that when the truck crashed into the gate, the horn went off, and that obviously was telling us that at that moment is when Rick and his crew heard it. So I was kind of expecting at some point maybe we see some walkers straggling in. We might see that at the beginning of next episode, and maybe they get it under control and they start herding them back. Who knows? But this episode, straight action-packed, a lot of deaths. Fortunately, none of them were significant. A lot of cannon fodder died, but a good episode nonetheless. I think out of this episode, Alexandria's hard lesson, whether or not Morgan's going to learn a hard lesson, because you know these wolf guys are going to come back somehow, some way. They'll be less in numbers, so they'll be more cerebral. They know the weak points in the base. And I said base, well, you know, Alexandria. And then finally, Enid. Enid, a very compelling little girl right now, because we saw her in the opening, a little development for her story. Obviously, her parents got killed, and she's been surviving on her own. There's a lot of speculation out there that she might be part of the wolves, like a little secret spy. Some of what happened in this episode lend you to believe that. Early in the episode, when they're showing her, she obviously makes it to Alexandria, but she knows there's weak points. She even exploited that. So it kind of makes you think that maybe she showed those weak points to the wolves. We saw that guy with the machete just coming out of nowhere and kill the lady. But I think that's too obvious. I think there's definitely something more to her. I just don't know if it's the fact that she's part of the wolves, but we'll find out. She might very well be, but I think it's too obvious at this point. Ron is completely just retarded. There's no other way to put it. I mean, obviously he's very jealous of the relationship that Carl and Enid have, enough to put himself in jeopardy. Then he walks in and he sees his mother killing one of the wolves, who I think, it was funny. At first, when I saw the way she was butchering that lady, I said, all right, that's a little overkill. But then when you consider what she's been through, she's been at Alexandria with her husband that used to beat on her, and all the changes she's gone through, and then seeing him die, I think that's exactly what that was. That was just her taking it out on this woman, and not even, she just wasn't thinking. She was just butchering, saving her son, protecting herself, taking out her aggression on this woman, and she got a kill. And I believe that's her first one. So we'll see how she develops from there. Maybe she becomes Rick's cave woman down the road, but we'll see. We'll see. But nonetheless, a very good episode. Sorry for the late review, but like I said, my Mets are in the playoffs, and I'm very excited. Game 4 tonight, and I'm hoping they pull it off and head into the World Series, where they're likely to be facing the Kansas City Royals. But does not mean I won't be here for the reviews. They just may not be up on time, depending on when these playoff games are. So, but until this Sunday's episode, this is Rob signing off for ETN, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching ETN. Don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. Join the nation's Facebook page to meet other subscribers, or visit ETN's Facebook page and Twitter page. Links for all are in the description. You're watching ETN. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to do our review for The Walking Dead, Episode 2, JSS. I know, I'm like 3 or 4 days late, but my Mets have been in the playoffs. They have a great chance of going to the World Series tonight if they win Game 4 in Chicago. So I've been really sucked in to the playoffs, because my team, who haven't been to the playoffs since 2006, they haven't been to a World Series since 2000, and they haven't won one since 1986. So that's been keeping my attention. But I did watch this episode, a very good episode. Ninja Carol, what? You know, there's not too much to dissect in this episode. It was a straight up action-packed episode. The wolves finally make their presence known, attacking Alexandria by surprise. Who else jumped out of their seat when Carol was looking out the window and looking at Mrs. Niedermeyer, and boom, out of nowhere, machete to the waistline, and then a hack to the head, and she is gone. No pasta maker for you, my lady. No pasta